Okay, so a lot has happened since I've been away. We've had, at a quick glance, the tournament ending. We've got a blue-haired female character appearing, and now our heroes are babies. Madness. Well, let's just take things an episode or two at a time. Hello everyone and welcome to Dueling with Downton. And yes, it's been a while, and apologies for that. However, today I'm here to talk about episode 77 of the Yugioh Go Rush anime series. The conclusion of Yuhi versus Yudias / Kuidal. Plus, our first look at Park's adorable face. Now, let's quickly start with her character. As obviously her acting in a way of rushing towards the stadium to help Yudias further showcases her feelings towards him. Yet, she takes it a step further within this episode by actually taking action physically. Now, the actions that she takes uses the polyuse effect / the Luke Devil ability that we saw from Luke in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Which was kind of interesting because it then means his power does in fact originate from the Kamijo family and has no Luke influence. Now, of course, her using this ability does break her box, and in the process, we see what's underneath. And it was adorable. Now, we know how shy her character has been throughout the series, and there's been this underlining tone of her and Yudias building this relationship in order to help her learn and grow in confidence. So seeing her literally trying to break out of her shell, or doing so, this case her box, by helping a friend shows that process of her being with Yudias has paid off immensely, and it helps showcase all the interactions that we've had between Yudias and the Park, and makes it even more impactful and meaningful. So yeah, I love seeing this little character just doing her best to try and save a friend because she desperately cared, and it really did show amazingly. Now then, the ending of this episode was a lose the battle, but kind of win the war situation for Kuidal, as it's revealed that Yushi's Joy Tech monster was in fact a darkness monster in disguise, meaning that a duelist with the influence of Kuidal's darkness won the tournament. Kind of. Now, the duel itself I loved, as yes, we've seen cards like Interstellar Change being used, which helps showcase the unity between humans and aliens, which is the whole point of this tournament, but during this duel, we see a fantastic display and showcasing of the connection between rivals and friendship from Yuhi's character, as he's able to utilize both the Abyss monsters and Requiem, which are from both of his friends and rivals, thus being Phaser and Yugioh. And it's because of his encounter with those two particular characters and seeing how their decks work, it allows Yuhi to properly utilize each monster that he used in this duel to the best of his ability and effectiveness. Now, we did see a rare case of Phaser actually getting the upper hand on Yugioh, as Phaser seemed to know all along that Yuhi would get involved in this duel. That's why the joint tech was put into the deck. But it does offer some questions, as in, how did Phaser get that card? And if it was a darkness card in disguise, is Phaser under the influence still? Or was he unaware? But even with all that being said though, the highlights of this in terms of action did not just come from Yuhi. Yudias himself in this exchange looked incredible and threatening throughout the duel. Yes, he's a hero, but in this situation, he's kind of playing the role of the antagonist. And he looked like he could have won this duel at any given moment, if the plot wasn't a plot device. And I like seeing how, although Yudias was aware of this darkness / evil entity in the background trying to orchestrate this plan and use and possess Yudias, he still wanted to give everything he had for this duel, because it meant something to him. Even if something terrible was going to happen after he won, Yudias still wanted to give his all and respect Yuhi as the duelist that they both are. And again, that shows the connection between the two characters. And the level of friendship, camaraderie, respect that they have for each other. I did like seeing Yudias kind of also wanting to understand Kuidal, because it's very Yudias-esque to be very kind towards the opponent and to try and understand everybody, because she knows how rush dueling can infect and help others understand each other and he's kind of using it on both fronts here. He's using it for his own personal pleasure in having this dream of battling Yuhi on a big stage, while also trying to understand this evil that's trying to lurk and take everything away from him. Right, so let's move on to the reveal and finding of Otes, as this was odd in the way that they've made it out so that Otis' Earthdemar separated from Otis himself, thus creating the Vulgarians, and Otis doesn't have any involvement. Now, we know how crazy and powerful Earthdemar can be, thanks to our time exploring Yuhi's Earthdemar and Danamu. But knowing that Otis' Earthdemar can create life forms and seemingly bend galaxies, it's just a crazy level of things. But let's be honest here, this might not be the first life form that Otis has created, as we have the Oko girls from Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Now, could that have been like a bit of a test run, where Otis is aware of his Earthdemar, and he tried making the Oko girls in 7s, and then now that he's back in the past, his Earthdemar split from him and decided he's going to try and build an entirely new colony, thus the Vulgarians. That being said, it does open up a lot of questions, like is Otis' Earthdemar controlling Kuidal? Thus giving us a reason as to why Kuidal, who in the flashback seemed like a very kind-hearted and genuine character that just enjoyed spending time with his master, now wants to make people into his chess pieces and manipulate them, which are kind of actions and feelings that we do associate with Otis himself because of his actions that we've seen in Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. Kuidal, in the ways he's acting throughout this arc, is a lot more like Otis was acting throughout 7s. So that's why I feel like once Kuidal absorbed the Earthdemar of Otis, it's kind of manipulating him and taking him over, like we saw Danamu do when possessing Yuamu. One thing I do have to say though is I love the Otis' Earthdemar's response to Kuidal's question regarding whether or not it loves Rush Duels more than the Bulgarians that it created. As we know, both Otis and Yugioh, home is important to them, and Otis stating that he created Kuidal based off of the galaxy in his homeland, aka the Milky Way, makes the theme of importance, care, love, and connection even more impactful when thinking about why the creator, aka the Otis Earthdemar, created the Vulgarians. Seeing Yugioh in the spaceship hangar was a little bit odd. Yeah, it was nice to see, as it's been a while since we've seen the character, and learning that he'd been looking for Otis just makes sense. But I can't see him sticking around as a recurring character much after this arc, because he's been in and out, which makes sense because we don't really tend to see the previous protagonists hang around too long. But it's still nice to see him. So anyways, this was a brilliant way to end off the arc. Was it conclusive? No, as it does leave the character of Kuidal with unfinished business, which is something kind of new for the show, as with all of the arcs that we've had in 7s and Go Rush, villains don't stay villains for too long. After their introduction arc, they seem to kind of chill out and become friends, with the exception of, say, Yugioh. So I'm glad they're continuing Kuidal's story, thus making him stay an antagonist for a bit longer. This episode has some good animation, some great dueling action, great character interactions, and it was emotional. The music was phenomenal as well, which just blended perfectly with everything that was presented. So overall, this was a very enjoyable episode, and an enjoyable arc for the most part. Let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below, and I hope you've enjoyed. Have a great day, alligator, madane, goodbye.